All right. Hello. Welcome to another House Salt Book Club. Yes, we're late. Thank you so much Matt, for noticing. I just got back from a bike ride. She loves to do fitness, so it was a little late, and that gave everyone time to finish the book, which is great.
It's
Or at least
true, which I needed personally. So
yeah.
thank you.
So really, I provided an important service by running late and having time blindness. So this month we were talking about Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elise. I don't know what the last name is on this.
Elle Cosimano.
Elle Cosimano. Okay, which was Jordan's pick for this month. So before we get into it, we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves and do star ratings. I didn't say this before we signed on, but on my screen, guys, it's Paige, Kayla, and then Jordan.
Yes.
So we'll do that. Cool. So we're going to do that and then talk about experience with thrillers. This is technically a thriller. I think we'll also get into that if we consider it a thriller. Technically a thriller, I guess, mystery, whatever you want to call it. So experience with that. So hi, I'm Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. You're here on my channel. As far as a rating, I think it's between like a 2 and a 3. Like I didn't viscerally hate it enough to really place it where I placed other books that are 2 stars for me, but it also was like a nothing book to me. Like I will very much forget this. It was a thing. There were some things that I was like slightly annoyed by. I wouldn't say that there were things that like greatly made up for that. There's like pieces that I was like slightly intrigued by, but so probably like a 2.25 to 2.5. I don't know, something like that. And as far as experience with thrillers, I have 0. So I never read a thriller. I never want to be thrilled. So I was like not sure. I wasn't sure. I don't like, when you live a life of anxiety, you don't want to be anxious for other people, So I was nervous that I was going to be anxious. I wouldn't say I was. So no experience with thrillers, and didn't really have any expectations going into this either because I hadn't heard of it. So I didn't know what I was getting into. So there was no bar for me.
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Paige from once again Minimal Bookie. I've changed my name back. We are going through a process. And I think I also land around the 2.5 star area where it's like an inoffensive book. There is nothing particularly wrong with it for me, and it wasn't hard to get through. I played The Sims, and listened to it in one day, so that was fine. And for my experience, I have read thrillers before, some for work, but also I really enjoyed the Joe Goldberg series, the You series. That is like crack cocaine for me for some reason. So I was kind of comparing it to that in terms of like, you're seeing the perspective of someone who is trying to cover up a murder, which is basically all the Joe books are him covering up all of his murders. And so I had that in the back of my mind while I was reading as well.
Oh, hi. Sorry. I'm Kayla from K-Series on TikTok, and I would probably give this like a 2 to 3. Like, honestly, same as them. I read a lot of thrillers, I would say. Like, I love Harlan Coben, Ruth Ware, Gillian Flynn, all those people. So I have some experience with thrillers. So I'll talk about that a little later. But go ahead, Jordan.
Okay, I'm Jordan from the Jordan Journals. This was my pick, and I wasn't at the last live show where this was drawn, so I didn't feel like I could like give you guys any expectation going into it.
Yes.
So I also really love thrillers. I've read a wide variety of thrillers, and like this is always pitched as like a cozy thriller. So it's like a cozy mystery. So it's not meant to be like thrilling or like scary in any way. And I picked that because I knew that Sam wouldn't like an actual thriller, but I wanted to like change up the genre that we read. So I was like, I really like thrillers. I want to read a thriller, but Sam won't like a thriller. So let's pick something a little tamer.
Thank you for considering me, Jordan. I love that.
So that's why I chose it. I really liked this. I would probably give it like a 4. But it was exactly what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I expected it to be just like this woman that accidentally starts getting involved in murders and has to cover it up. So it was exactly what I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that definitely makes sense because there's like other books, like I'm looking on my shelf, I don't know where it is, but like there's a bunch of different like cozy, like murder mystery kind of books. It is like a very specific niche genre, and I am kind of into it, but I think I just wasn't in the mood for it at the time I was reading it, and that's why it's on the lower end. I feel like catch me again, maybe with another book, and I might like it more, but it definitely was giving cozy mystery. It just was a little too insane for me. I was like, oh my god, the plots that were happening.
It definitely felt like, instead of it being cozy mystery, because I sort of think of cozy mystery as like, I don't know what the show is. Someone in the comments will probably tell me, or like one of you will. But like, there's sort of some of those BBC like cozy mysteries, or like I don't know, like Murder She Wrote kind of stuff that's like in syndication, where it's just like small town, there's a murder and we have to solve it. But this is where she was like kind of involved.
Yeah,
was like where I was like, wait, what? Like, and just when the first chapter started and she was as messy as she was, I was like, oh no. And we kind of went from there. So let's start with that. How do we feel about our main character, Finlay?
I feel like she wasn't anything different from what I anticipate, because all the thrillers I've read have usually centered around white women who have kids. So like
And
her
messy.
being a mom,
they're always like messy.
They're always
women,
messy.
too.
They're like, like that is like a staple of everything I've read, at least. So I was like, this makes sense. So I think the twist of it being sort of kind of funny was nice, which is why it was like in the 2.5 range and not in the 1-star range for me. Where I was like, I see what is being done here, but I wasn't surprised by anything about her. I didn't feel like she really had like a huge personality in terms of like I will remember her as a character. I thought like it was like a perfectly fine protagonist to have the perspective of, but it wasn't like,
which I feel like is really typical for thrillers, is like I don't ever find the main character to be super memorable or like someone who lingers with me after the book. It's like usually the spectacle of the crimes that linger. So yeah, I thought that she was fine. I didn't dislike her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of indifferent. I feel like she made a lot of stupid choices, and I was just kind of annoyed a lot of the time. And I also liked Vera more. Like Vera was had more personality. So that comparison, I don't know. It's whatever. Finley's whatever to me.
Yeah, this is very interesting. So again, me not knowing about thrillers as like a genre, what some of the like tropes that maybe it was like playing around with probably didn't help my experience, because I didn't know that thrillers tend to focus around white women with kids. I don't know. Like I was like, oh, mom. Like I was like not into it. Sorry. I mean, I'm okay with people having kids in real life, but I don't really want to read about it. And like, I don't know, just that. Yeah, that was. I mean, I wasn't like mad at her for being a parent, but like the sheer amount of mess, I was like, I can't. Like, it's also, I don't know how you guys feel about this. I always feel a little weird about like authors writing about authors, like author characters in books that are like, oh, I need the next story and whatever. Like the only person that I've liked it done is Emily Henry, because she can do no wrong. But otherwise, I'm kind of like,
that comment, the last comment is iconic.
That's very valid. So that's kind of how I feel. Yeah, I like also she just kind of annoyed me. I think it was the duct taping the kid's hair to her. That really got me. Where I was like, what? And then like the continued amount throughout, and we'll get to like the actual plot and stuff, but just like the continued amount of just stupid choices, like especially for someone, because there's this angle of like, well, I write these romantic thrillers and whatever, and so like I know things, but then she'd also do the dumbest shit that you're like, wait, you write this, like why are you doing that? That I think was just like a little silly and over the top for me.
Also, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, the duct taping the hair scene lasted forever, in my opinion. I'm like, this is the first chapter. I'm like, is this what we're in for the whole book? Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
I do think it's really common too for main characters in thrillers to be writers or journalists or like and get involved in the stories that way.
The Joe Goldberg, the last book that I literally just read a month ago, there was a character that's kind of similar in terms of like she is a thriller author and she gets him to like kill people and like gives tips on how to do it and stuff. So I was thinking of her being like, this is her if she was in a comedy. It just felt like it was like all tied in.
Yeah. And just all the choices of like, even when she was like, yeah, I might kill this dude. And you're like, girl, like
Mhm.
what? Like what? And then they had to like, I don't know, even the spin of like, well, he's sort of like a serial rapist, so it's fine. I'm like, yeah, you still can't murder people. Like in this realm, like give me a serial rapist in any other kind of like thing, and I'm like, murder them. But like in this, I'm like, you're gonna get caught, which we'll again get to
Mhm.
all of that later. But okay, so we already kind of brought up Vera as a character.
It has to be a bad person for her to murder, because she can't murder.
Otherwise,
That
we wouldn't
makes
be
her
behind her.
like,
Right,
yeah,
which
exactly.
is-
We wouldn't support her.
Yes, which again I got why it was, but I was like, of course we're gonna have a serial rapist, because like anytime there's a villain, it's
Or
just like
the mob.
right, it's or both. Like they have to be a rapist, or they have to like be a sex trafficker or something. Which again, yes, we'd love those people to die, support it, but like it still just is one of those like, and you think you're gonna get away with a murder anyway.
Mhm.
But Vera, what are our feelings about Vera's choices, Vera's contributions to the story?
I really like Vera, but I still feel like she's suspicious. I get suspicious
Okay.
vibes from her, but I really like her.
Interesting.
Well, see, normally
Why was she?
like, sorry, go
Why
ahead.
was she cleaning up her kitchen for her?
No, that part was sus. I will agree with
That
you.
was
When
weird.
I heard that part,
Why
I was
was
like,
she
what
just
is
cleaning her
happening
kitchen?
here?
Wait, when
No,
was
you're
she?
so
And
right.
why
when
does
was
she
she
like
in the
always
kitchen?
conveniently, when she came home from was it the bar or the party?
Yeah, so like when she
With
came
with
the body
Harris.
and
Yeah.
in the trunk.
She found Vera, or like her kitchen had been cleaned, and then Vera walked in right after that whole ordeal and was like, oh my gosh, there's a body in your garage, and I cleaned your kitchen for you because you were out, so I came by to pick up my stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's
So maybe that's something
Mhm.
that they'll bring up in a future. Apparently, because it's a 7-book series, according to
Yeah.
one of the
7?
comments. Apparently,
I
the
think
comments
there's
said
4
that.
out now. There's like 4 of them out now.
There are, because I did see the rest
We're
of them.
lying. Keep talking about this. Hold on.
I want to bring
out
up.
last year, or was it 2020?
No, this is a couple
No,
years
this has
ago.
been a minute.
No,
yeah.
2021. Okay.
Knowing that it was a cozy mystery now in hindsight, I didn't know that while reading, obviously. So I thought like there was going to be twist after twist after twist, because that's normally what happens.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for Vera to be involved somehow because she was there that night. Never happened, but I did enjoy her personality more than definitely than Finn. So there's that at least. But she felt like spunky side character, so kind of needed her to like lift up the story a
She was
little bit.
always conveniently like solving the bigger problems too.
Yeah. Oh, here's the money I got from so and so. I met with her. Okay.
I'm happy to just have a cousin who has a car we can take all over the place. It's fine.
Of course.
You won't notice it's gone.
Yeah.
I saw a comment, like I was looking at Goodreads reviews because I was trying to grapple with how I felt about the book. So sometimes I read people's like comments to see like what I resonate with. And someone had put that it's like if Sophie Kinsella's characters were put into a murder mystery.
Oh my God. So
and I was like, that is literally what it was.
Wow.
And then it reminded me just now of the Bromance Book Club book with Vlad, because his like girlfriend gets kidnapped at the end of the book. And it was giving that energy. I was like, this is exactly. And like with that in mind, if I read the second book, then I would know what I'm going into with it.
I think I would have even, I know we're getting almost to like plot stuff, but like if this actually leaned slightly more into the romance, like those elements were actually the parts that I was like, like if it was like that slightly more, where it was sort of like the Sophie Kinsella or the Bromance Book Club, whatever type stuff, but because it was so like still focused on the plot of the like mystery that I just found not super compelling. I feel like that's why I was a little bit like Vera. I didn't get suspicious vibes from Vera. I listened to the audiobook, by the way. I don't know if you guys ever listened to the audiobook.
I read it. So
okay, so audiobook for me was like she seemed fine, because sometimes you can get hints from how the audiobook narrators talk. So although there was a part in the audiobook, I don't know if you guys noticed this, when like where they go to the graveyard and like the henchman guys there, and there's all these hints about like she thinks it's Nick or whatever, but he's speaking with a Russian accent because it's the Russian guy, and it's like, okay, maybe don't have the accent be up front
until the reveal is
so like there's parts like that where I'm like, okay, come on. But yeah, so like Vera, yeah, I think she added a nice little twist. But again, another, and maybe I just have a hard time with thrillers because I just don't believe some of this. Like, I don't know, I could fantasy and be like, everything goes, sci-fi, everything goes. But a thriller, if it's set in the real world, I'm like, no. Like, it's hard for me to suspend my disbelief because, like, I guess money is important, but also I would like more money than I have, and I probably still wouldn't be like, yeah, let's start murdering people.
Yeah.
Or like Vera even being like, yep, I'm gonna sign up for this hot mess woman
to pay off student loans. Like, Bessie, no.
Right. I'm just like, I just don't. So I don't know. Yeah. So again, just motivations across the board were a little bit like weak for me, I guess. But if this is sort of the trope of what happens in a lot of these, then like, sure.
She did. She was fighting to keep her kids too, which I feel like.
Yes. But it was also one of those things where like, okay, so the villain of like the other woman and her like ex-husband or whatever, where it's like, yeah, he's gonna take the kids away or whatever. I was like, I mean, if any, I understand child custody battles are like a little rough, but from my experience working in like some of those fields, typically they don't give kids to dads, even if dads like are the better parent, and he's blatantly not, and he like never sees them. So it's all these things where I was like, if he sees the kids for like an hour every like 2 weeks, a judge is actually not just going to be like, yeah, you get to have full custody now. Like that's just not how the system like actually works. So I was like, it's fine. Like that's none of the things you're afraid of are actually going to happen. I don't know. So like some of that was just, I have a hard time suspending my disbelief.
Speaking of her, sorry, go ahead.
Yes. No, were you going to say something about the husband? Because
the ex-husband. Well, speaking of the ex-husband, she did so much at his like house and stuff. I thought she was gonna frame everything like on him.
Yeah.
Like she was on his computer, blah blah blah, and nothing ever really came of that. But yeah,
it just so happened that she further implicated Teresa.
Yeah.
On accident.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How do we feel about the love interests?
That's what I was gonna. Yeah. So. Yeah. How do we feel about it actually ending up being sort of a triangle? Because I thought that the bartender guy was sus.
Yeah.
Julian?
Yeah. It's the fact that he got dropped until the very end of the book.
I thought that the cop was sus.
I thought the cop was sus.
Really? I didn't think the cop
was sus.
I mean, I don't want to pull for a cop. See, here's the thing too, is like, we have a cop love interest. And I'm like, in this economy, this came out in 2021, I was like, are we really going to root for the cop? Although I did like hit like their banter more, like their personality more, their shit, but like, yeah, Julian felt like that's not real, or like, and even him again, her being like, I'm gonna confess everything that's happened and all my lives, and he's like, it's fine.
Me.
Yeah,
it's like, but he's about to be a lawyer, and he's out here like, oh, you accidentally almost killed someone. Like what?
Yeah, like I thought he was gonna be involved.
Where like everyone is suspect. Where like everyone is going to be a murderer in the future.
Yeah.
They're all tied to the mob. All of them.
Yeah. Right. Somehow the Russian mob. Yeah. Did you guys have someone that you were like, of the two, were you pulling for anybody?
No, I had no strong. The one thing I will say about the romance element of it was since I was listening to it, like when the steamy scene came on where they're like making out in the car, it just felt like it was thrown out of left field because it hadn't had any romance really up until like there was like a little bit of tension, but like not like a lot. So when they're like discussing it, I was like, whoa, where did this come from? And then it was dropped for the rest of the book again. I was like, okay. I thought it was gonna be like a fade to black, not like a description of a scene, but yeah. I thought that was really funny.
I like the bartender a little bit more. I'm suspicious of the cop. But I don't really have really strong feelings about either.
I feel like Nick is endgame, I think he's the one she'll end up with for sure. It was like giving those vibes.
Well, the other one is like a 20-something-year-old college student.
He's a child, and he was definitely involved somehow. Again, suspicious. Like something's going on with him. And yes, it's giving very much like he's the distraction for Nick being like the end game. And I did read some of the like future synopsis of the other two books, and it's like, like Nick is still, so like he's mentioned in future synopses where like Julian isn't. But yeah, I just felt like it might have been stronger for me if there was more romance, honestly. Like, because it was always just like,
if it was weaved in better. Yeah, because normally when it's like that partnership between like the cop and the person who's trying to solve the crime, it's like there's a lot more tension. So I was waiting for it, and then it just like came out of nowhere. But
Yeah.
Fingers crossed for the future.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe the rest of the books will
Yeah.
be more
Really flesh
tension.
that out.
Balanced. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of characters and everyone we're suspicious of, I mean, getting to the plot, guys, it's gonna be such a short live show. How did you feel about it, that being like the resolution to the plot? Like it's the boyfriend that worked at the dog shelter that did it so they could run away together.
Like, I was waiting for the final act. Like, I thought, okay, she has this all solved. And then it went on for a while. I'm like, okay, something else is going to happen here. Nothing ever happened. And I was like, okay. I expected a lot more. Like, reveal.
I was a little confused. Like, did Teresa not get arrested too? Was it just Felix who got arrested at the end?
I think Teresa confessed everything to get off, like, in a deal.
Okay.
I think that's what happened.
Yeah, like everyone
Pretty
else,
sure.
like basically got a plea bargain because they just spilled the tea.
Yeah.
Well, and he's the big bad, like, monster boss that they've been
Right.
hunting for.
And like obviously he's gonna come back because they're like he's gonna get bail, whatever. Like he's gonna return in future books too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought like the end was.
I was surprised when they were starting to like dig up the body, and then they found like
other bodies.
all
Yeah,
the
that
others.
was surprising.
Yes, that was surprising. Yes,
That was good. Yeah, I like that part, and I thought the book was ending soon after the reveal of the shooting. I thought, okay, we've reached the end of this book, and then it went on for like another 20 minutes or something, and I was like, why is it still going? So I liked that element of it, and I liked the very, very like the last couple of lines, whatever, like the reveal at the very end. But it was that in between of those two that I was like, this was entirely too long. It needed to be cut down a lot.
Yeah, but that means that there's something more going on with the sod farm.
Mm-hmm.
If
the
husband is like looped into it somehow.
Yes.
He wasn't maybe as unaware as
of what was happening.
Right.
Yeah.
The sod farm of bodies, cool. I think just by the end when I was like, oh, she's not going to get caught for any of this. Like, not that because she obviously didn't do anything, but she did bury a body and then was like really messing around.
She took the money,
and she was really messing around with like all this stuff. We're not going to find any of her DNA anywhere. And I know that, like, again, the cops are like not good at their job. So like, that's kind of believable. But like, I don't know. It is just one of those, like, you were so involved in so many pieces that like nothing's going to have any fallout for you, which like, I'm wondering if it is a series it is a series. Since it is a series, is this going to come back later where like, oh yeah, I buried that man's body? Like, is that going to be a thing? How do you just bury a body after someone's been murdered and just like, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Like no one catches. I don't know.
Well, she drugged the guy too.
Yeah.
Put him in her van, took him to her house.
Like she's still the reason that he ultimately died.
Yeah.
Like,
she assisted at least in some way.
Right. It is sort of assist. Like, I don't know what the charge would be. But like there'd be something that would have happened there. Because that guy could have still killed him in another way, but like it was still like on her property in her car after she took money to murder him. Like you're gonna get in trouble. I don't know. Maybe my sense of justice is just has a really hard time with thrillers. Like, I don't know. I'd be interested to try like a real one or some other like.
I want you to read You. I want to know what your opinion would be on that.
So I will say this is not about you, and this is like we're taking a different turn. But there is. I've gotten back on TikTok after like a month off of it, and there's a sound going around for that like Haunting Adelaide series. You guys, this was like a really very dark romance with a stalker. Whatever.
Yes,
and I'm like, should I? And I'm like, how are you gonna go from like never reading a dark romance literally ever in your life
to that one?
Reading like one of the ones that's the most. And
Sam, you cannot do that.
Makes it sound so interesting, and I'm like, wait, no.
Do not do that to yourself.
So if I do it, I'm gonna vlog it just for the experience. But yeah. So speaking of thrillers, not that that's quite a thriller. It's thriller-esque because there is like stalkers and whatever. But yeah, I would maybe. I don't know. Since I've been dipping my toes more into like gothic horror stuff, I can be a little scared now. I can be a little nervous. I just don't like when people make really dumbass decisions. So do most thrillers have them being stupid?
I feel like
the ones that I like generally, yes. The ones that I have liked the most, yes.
Yeah, because like the reason I like the U series is because I'm like, how the fuck has he not been caught after these four? Because he gets stupider as the books go on. Like the first one is fine, and then I'm like, he's worse than in the show where he's like doing all this crazy shit and should be caught. But that's
Or,
like that's the
But he's a
entertainment of
white
it. Is like
man.
exactly. So like there is reality in it and like how everything happens and why and like he's in like wealthy circles and stuff. So it's like the reality of it, but also the waiting for them to get caught is what I like in my thrillers. Is like waiting for the person to get caught versus one where someone's trying to solve a crime. I like being on the other side of it.
Well, and when you are following someone who's trying to solve a crime, it's not fun if they're not involved in solving it, which means they have to do stupid things and make stupid decisions to insert themselves in the crime. Otherwise, it's not.
Otherwise, it's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, it's not thrillery. It's not thrilling and thrillering. It's not thrillering and it's not fun.
Yes. Okay.
You could try like a psychological thriller. They like make stupid decisions, but like it's purposeful. Like it's
because they're unreliable narrators, kind of like the girl on the train and stuff.
The girl on the train.
Girl on the train, Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Like that is like a whole specific genre of thriller as well.
Okay. Maybe. All right. Okay.
I could not believe she did not get caught coming out of Teresa and Steven's house. The cop was I'm like, how was that was the one moment where I was like, this does not feel believable. How could she not
She's
just
being
get caught?
tailed at numerous points. Like again, she writes an art, like she writes a book about a thing that's actively happening.
Yeah.
And no one and Nick kind of gets in trouble, but like
her headshot is the description of the person who walked out with Harris. Like, how does nobody notice that?
And Nick's more concerned about his job than like her being involved with this crime or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Right. We're not connecting any of the pieces, which again,
self-centered.
Cops are incompetent. So like it kind of makes sense. But like, because how many murders have just like not been solved because cops don't do their jobs? But at the same time, it's just like, but if it's fiction, why is it not at least happening in fiction? I don't know. It's Tracy, what is a baking thriller? Do you guys know what this means? Or is this a typo? What's a baking thriller?
I can't think of...
No, I know what it is.
There was a popular one that people have been recommending, and I can't remember the name of it.
There's like, it's a good day to pie.
Yeah, like those... Yeah. It's like very Agatha Christie-esque. I feel like those... It's more like cozy
and are
bakers
than it is. Solving murders?
I've seen those. I've seen like people who own ice cream.
Things to kill people with.
That would also
like Sweeney Todd.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess.
Because the ones I think of are like a game of cones and stuff. Like there's like those ones which are like they own like an ice cream store and there's like murders happening. So it's like those kinds of like that feels like that premise feels a little sillier. Yeah.
I think that would technically be considered a cozy.
Like a cozy.
Too.
Yeah.
Yes. Low stakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what my kind of thriller would be. Like, would I want something more psychological? I don't know. I haven't tried any of them. I don't tend to watch a lot of those movies
Do a video of reading like a bunch of different kinds of thrillers.
Here we go. Okay.
There you go. There's your idea. I won't be doing that. You do that.
Thanks.
Thanks.
He's like, I like this, but I also like Karen Slaughter, which is
right
the other end of the spectrum.
Trying out thrillers. Thanks.
The one that things that come out of us reading this book. There you go.
Great. Yeah, because so I
see what I did.
Jordan, you are in your prime this year with the book club, and I love it. But I do feel like book club as a whole is in its flop era right now because we read House of Serpent and whatever. We read this, and then we're about to read fucking Vampire Academy, and I just don't think it's going to be a great one for us. But I'm okay with it also.
See, at least at Vampire Academy, we're like hate reading it collectively. So it's like a different entry level into it. We're reading it for jokes, not for serious.
I didn't
for
like
the giggles.
I read it the first time, so I don't have high hopes.
Yeah.
I loved it. When I read the first 3 books as a 16-year-old and loved it. So this is going to be great for me. I remember nothing about this series besides the movie.
How do you rate based on jokes, though?
How much did you enjoy hate reading it?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be giving some 2 stars and below, but is there something
for me? I'm gonna give it 5 to balance it out.
Oh my god. Okay, so to get back to wrapping this book up, do you guys plan on continuing potentially with this series?
I thought about it because of that last line where it was like, oh, it's the
Yeah.
husband that's in the.
I want to know what's
Remind
going on with
me-
Steven.
She gets a call. Is it she gets a call? She gets a note and something with Steven. What happens?
It's a note.
So she gets a note from the original girly being like, "Hey, I was on a website for women like us,
And someone
and
wants
I
him
thought
to be
this would be
murdered.
of interest for you." Yes, and
Right,
it was like
someone
for
wants him
bad
to be
people who
murdered.
should be like merged. So
Yeah,
I'm curious to know
yeah.
why his name was in there. I was like, she can write a compelling cliffhanger. I will give her that because I was like gagged when I heard that.
Yes, I mean he's already not a likable character. He's got Teresa in this sketchy sod farm, and then his receptionist that he's dating too.
Yeah.
So like,
and he also hit on
what puts
Vera,
him on par
I think.
with the?
Yes.
Oh yeah. What puts him on par? Oh yeah, that's why he fired her.
Yeah.
He's just sketchy. He does some icky dating and sexual harassment stuff, obviously. So probably something like that got him in trouble. He probably
just
did
like
that to the wrong
Harris.
person. Yeah. All right. So so Jordan's a yes. Paige is a maybe. Kayla.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm a no. It's a no from me. But I feel like, okay, here's my hypothesis, and when I eventually get around to doing a vlog on this, we will learn. I'm thinking the like romantic psychological thriller, or maybe not psychological, but romantic thriller situation might be fun for me. Maybe that would appeal to me enough that like, because sometimes romance also allows me to suspend my disbelief because it is so like sort of over the top too, that like if you combine the two, they would like even each other out a little bit more. But something just like this, I think is almost a little too convenient for me to like get behind.
Fair.
So yeah,
that is completely
okay. I do think that those romance mystery thrillers are out there. I think that's a genre. Yeah, you could probably find some.
Yeah, I mean, I already kind of dabble in that in a way because I read paranormal romance, and a lot of those have that urban fantasy, monster of the week plot where they're working with cops, whatever. So like, I'm adjacent to it already. So I think that'll be an easy transition to like try something over in that area. Cool.
I'll give you some examples of other stuff later, Sam, of books you should potentially read because there's a couple. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. All right. So as we mentioned, next month is going to be Vampire Academy.
I'm so excited. Yes, let's do this.
So next month will be the one to watch. One, because everyone knows something about Vampire Academy.
It's going to be jokes.
It's going to be jokes on jokes.
You liked when we did the selection?
You will.
Another selection brand. Yes.
And that was my suggestion as well. So you know my brand of books.
But what the nice thing is at the end of it, our next selection of picks is happening. So hopefully everyone will be here because it's easier when we can actually talk about why we're picking what we're picking, and that way we can pick. So we'll see how the next round goes depending on what the picks are.
I promise if I get picked for the next round, I will choose a book that is not
something reasonable.
I have one in mind that I think a lot of you would actually enjoy, and I've already read it, so I will recommend that one for it if I get picked.
Cool. Okay. Yeah,
I like the chaos though. It feels good for right now.
Maybe I'll get picked twice.
Maybe you will. Honestly, I always pull for a Jordan triple. Yeah,
Jordan, you
that is where, like, because I do think it's fun. Like, we've gotten some fun little things going on. And I have liked someone mentioned, like, we've been in our flop era. What are you talking about? Which is kind of true. I feel like book club this year is also like, it just doesn't, we never go exceedingly well, but I'm not like mad about it in the way that I've been like maybe previously. Like last year I was like, oh God, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like it's a lot more mid than like horrible.
Yes. Yeah. We had some bad stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're not picking things that like were the most hyped books of the year.
We don't have high hopes. Yeah. We're just doing some mid stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so join us next month. We'll really come be the end of this month, depending on schedules. You'll see us when you see us, but it's usually around the end of the month or beginning of the following. And that's when we'll do all these selections, and you'll hear us talk about Vampire Academy, which I'm sure we'll get to at least an hour for Vampire Academy. There's gonna be so much there.
Yes.
There's going to be so much there to really
Yes.
sink our teeth into.
The teeth
Oh, that was quite the
relationship.
pun there, Sam.
And here, the nice thing about this is I do love vampire media. So
Yeah.
there's going to be something there. There's going to be something enjoyable here for me.
We can also talk about
I
like the
do love a vampire
movie
story.
and like the TV show. Like, there's other forms of content based on
None
it.
of which I have watched.
You need to watch the movie. The movie is so good and campy.
Is
Anyway.
it?
It's
Okay.
campy. It's not like the. We'll talk about it next. We'll talk about
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. We'll take it. Awesome. All right. We will see everybody at the end of this month, beginning of next month. Wish us luck with Vampire Academy. Or not, depending on how you want the live show to go. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.